My name is Scott Haynes. I'm a God-fearing man from nowhere, Indiana. If you've ever been to Roann Compost, we call it Musselmanville, Indiana. There's several representatives here. We are kind of in the middle of nowhere on State Road 16. Clint has asked me to, I like what he changed it to, relaxing tight soils with calcium and gypsum. Clint started this by saying that I was a gypsum and compost expert. And I quickly called him as soon as I read that and said, hey, you've got to change this. Number one, the definition of being an expert is you have to be at least 50 miles from home. That cancels me out. And I have failed at enough things that there's no way I can be an expert, especially with some of my peers in here that know the disasters that I've created. Gypsum, with the gypsum side of the business, we operate in a law of diminishing return. Our gypsum treatments, you should run out of ground of where you need gypsum. And practices, change that. Needing calcium, not needing calcium. As Clint illustrated before, air and water make up 50% of the soil. The other 50% is mineral, and of those minerals, calcium becomes very important because your rate of calcium to be ideal is 68 to 72. 70% calcium is a good 70% calcium is a good spot to be for good fraculation of the clay. In a clay soil, it wants to collapse like a deck of cards or sheets of paper. And when you have proper calcium amount, it layers that a little bit and allows for more air and water infiltration. Clint said it the best, there is no silver bullets. You can't just go out and apply 1,000 pounds of gypsum every acre. Gypsum's 21%, 21.5% calcium and 16.5% sulfur. A reason to use gypsum is the reason that you see that a lot in you would want to use more gypsum in a clay type soil is most clays hang on to more mag. When you apply gypsum, the sulfur portion of the gypsum will bond to the mag and create Epsom salt and very easily leach out of the soil. Now, with that being said, if there's nowhere for that water to go, if you have a high water table, if you don't have adequate drainage and stuff, it's going to be hard for that to leave. I have a good friend of mine that runs a tile business, and he said, I need to make it, as a tile guy, I need to make it there before you do with the gypsum. I need to make it there with tile before you do with gypsum because you might eliminate my job. Gypsum helps with sulfur, with phosphate retention, and Clint's talked a lot, and I'm trying to confine this, down to a little bit because Clint hit a lot of my high points, and I am worse on rabbit trails than Clint is. So where not to use gypsum, low CEC soils is a place that you got to be careful. You don't want your calcium to get too high, and soil test. I've seen situations of, we've been a part of tests of, 30, 35 CEC, and, I've seen guys blow my mind with, very high rates of gypsum. You just don't want to drive your mag level too low because it will limit your crop yields. Any questions?
Timing of applying gypsum, is it spring, fall, or good?
So fall is probably the most ideal, but there's too many things that happen in the fall. Everybody is busy with harvest. You're busy with, all your steps. We process our gypsum in a way that it's about a 10% free moisture. So, we do a lot of spreading on frozen ground. I mean, I personally have hauled gypsum at 0, into the New Haven, Fort Wayne area. And those guys over there like spreading when it's froze to reduce compaction. And, the timing of the application, it takes about 20 inches of rain to really activate gypsum and to get it to work. So we have guys that do it in the spring. We have guys that do it in the fall. We have guys that do it in the wintertime. I had a guy call me from Paulding, Ohio, and said, we had a bean crop that failed. We're replanting now, and the beans are just spiking through. What do you think about running over the top of that with gypsum? Because we want to get gypsum in there. And I'm like, you want to run over a standing crop? And he's like, well, why not? Guys run rollers over them all the time. And I was like, well, let's try it. It's not going to burn it. They saw a yield bump from doing that. Because of the sulfur. I mean, there's a lot of things. I don't want to run off too deep in the weeds, but there's a lot of synergies that guys are seeing with the sulfur application with beans, and the reactions that happen thereof.